All right, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack something absolutely fascinating, something we literally stare at for hours, but probably never actually think about. We're taking a deep dive into the hidden linguistics of the World Cup match balls. That's right, the ball itself. Every 4 years, a brand new ball drops onto the pitch, and it always comes with a specific, flashy name. But here's the thing, these aren't just random words pulled out of a hat by some marketing team. No way. These names carry some serious weight. They are packed to the brim with etymological secrets, cultural history, and massive global shifts.
So it makes you think, right? Have you ever wondered what these iconic words actually mean? I mean, we yell these names at our TVs, we buy the merch, we argue about their aerodynamics with our friends, but so often we just take these famous names completely for granted. We treat them like, corporate logos instead of actual words with deep linguistic roots. Well, today, we're going to change that.
Let's take the legendary 2010 match ball, for example, the Jabulani. When you visually break apart that word, it uncovers this highly tangible, super deep cultural narrative. Originating from a Zulu root, Jabulani literally translates to celebrate or to bring joy. Just let that sink in for a second. By simply understanding that literal translation, this object completely transforms, right? It goes from being a mere piece of sports equipment into an active instruction, a literal cultural call to action for the host nation and the entire world.
So, here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. 1. The origins of naming the ball. 2. Honoring host nation cultures. 3. The shift to global branding. 4. Decoding modern iconic names. And finally, 5. What these names actually reveal. Kicking things off with Section 1. The origins of naming the ball during those early tournament years.
Way back in the 1930s, during the very first tournaments, these balls were entirely unnamed. They were literally just heavy leather objects used to play a game. Simple as that. But as we roll into the mid-20th century, we start to see this really interesting shift toward descriptive localized names. They started taking on these unique regional flavors. And then, finally, as we speed into the modern era, boom, we enter the global branding phenomenon. The names suddenly became these highly engineered international concepts.
Which brings us to Section 2, honoring host nation cultures through localized homages. You see, this middle era of naming served as a fascinating mirror for the host nations. The creators were getting highly intentional with their linguistics. First up, they really focused on showcasing native language roots, essentially putting local dialects onto a massive international stage. Second, these names were carefully chosen to celebrate local heritage and geography. And third, they reflected the host country's historical self-image. Now, just to be totally clear, we're simply exploring the creators' linguistic intent here. We aren't diving into or endorsing any of the underlying political ideologies of these host nations. We're just impartially observing how these countries chose to project their identity out to the world through a really simple but powerful act, naming a football.
Moving right along to Section 3. The massive shift to global branding driven by broadcast technology. We start to see this stark contrast between two completely distinct eras. On one hand, you've got the local cultural tradition, those descriptive words honoring a specific host's history that we were just talking about. But then, on the other hand, comes global tech branding. This is where words are specifically engineered for international marketing and worldwide broadcast visibility. These names had to transcend local dialects. They needed to be punchy, they needed to be memorable, and crucially, they had to be easily pronounced by commentators speaking dozens of different languages all across the globe.
And honestly, there's absolutely no better example of this shift than the Telstar. It's an English portmanteau, basically a mashup of the words television and star. This name was specifically engineered from the ground up for the global television era. It literally marks the absolute dawn of international sports branding. Think about it. They named the ball after the exact technology that was finally allowing people to watch the game from the comfort of their own living rooms. It wasn't just a ball anymore. It was the literal star of the television.
All right, Section 4, decoding modern iconic names at the intersection of linguistics and marketing. Modern balls actually do this incredible job of perfectly blending distinct language roots with high-end marketability. Back in 1970, the Telstar used English origins to mean television star, right? It leaned heavily into the global tech and broadcasting side of the equation. But then jump down to 2010 with the Jabulani. The language of origin there is Zulu, meaning to celebrate. It somehow managed to be deeply rooted in a very specific local heritage while simultaneously being this catchy, rhythmic word that worked beautifully for international marketing campaigns. It is honestly the ultimate synthesis of local tradition and global branding.
And that leads us to Section 5, what the names actually reveal when we look at the bigger picture.
When we really want to understand the true impact of these naming conventions, we can follow a super simple 3-step process. Step 1, analyze the literal translation. Step 2, understand the cultural homage hiding behind it. And Step 3, recognize the global connection it's aiming to achieve. When you walk through these steps, a seemingly simple piece of sports trivia actually tells a much, much larger story. It's a story about human connection, the rapid progression of technology, and the steady, unstoppable march of globalization.
The absolute most crucial point here is captured beautifully in this quote. These names reflect how the world viewed itself at that exact moment in history. And honestly, if you take away nothing else from today's explainer, remember that. The name of the ball isn't just some clever marketing gimmick. It's a linguistic timestamp of our evolving culture. I mean, we went from unnamed leather spheres towards celebrating local geography, to a portmanteau celebrating the miracle of satellite TV, all the way to Zulu words inviting the entire globe to celebrate together. The ball tells us exactly who we were when it was kicked.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly exciting thought. When the next tournament arrives, what is the ball's name going to say about our world today? What new technologies, massive global shifts, or cultural priorities are going to be baked right into its etymology? Keep your ears open and your mind sharp, because the next time you hear that brand new name announced, you're going to know exactly how to decode the hidden meanings inside. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the words around you.